it's definitely time to grow when, it could be something as simple as this store is so busy that we can't even, maybe the sales just, it would be good even if we had a store, 10 minutes down the street. So maybe we see that there's a market there.
Hi there, welcome to iQTalk. I'm Savannah Jones with our guest today, Mandy Ristic. She's a franchisee and operating partner with the Ohm Group. Hi, Mandy. Thanks for joining me.
Hi.
Well,
Hi, how are you? I'm so
I
excited.
know this is going to be great. I can't wait to hear about all of your success and how many stores you've got now, what the plans are. So, why don't you give us a little bit of background on your career and how you ended up where you are now?
Well, I started actually in the food industry. Just to have a really quick little recap, like you asked. I did start when I was very young, 16, and I went to my local Baskin Robbins in town and got a job at the local Baskin Robbins, and ended up meeting my husband there. His family owned it. Ended up marrying him, and we ended up buying that Baskin Robbins, and that was like so long ago. So we owned and operated that through 2017. So for a very long time. And prior to that, throughout the growing pains of growing our own family and, just growing up in life, I kind of wanted to do more and just really got a side job as a cake decorator in a local Dunkin' that was comboed with the Baskin. And that was a short 12 years ago. Made cakes for that operator, and he had 7 units at the time. He asked me to be a restaurant manager, and I decided to take it. And that was like I said, it was about 2012. And I never ran a drive-through restaurant before. I never wore like a headset. I didn't do anything to that scale of a one Dunkin' Baskin operation. But I mean, it was kind of exciting. It made a little extra income for the home. It got me out of the house, out of the business, and really kind of fell into it from day one. From there, I was a very, I guess, fast learner when it came to running that business. And then soon enough, I wanted more. And he ended up giving me about 3 units. This it seemed like a lot. Started from a very small, like I said, couldn't even answer a drive-through, and all of a sudden running 3 of his restaurants, and they all had the Baskin and the Dunkin' in them. And then, just kind of outgrew him. Went on to another franchise group. Ran 7 units for them. I thought that was a lot. They had some growing pains to do, and geographically it wasn't working out. Went on to meet who I am with now, Ohm Group, that's founded by 2 brothers, and they're out of Chicago, and they started in the Dunkin' world, and met up with them in 2016. They had 2 units. They were buying 6 more, and they needed my help, and we met then and became there, and now just in my group, we're at 50 restaurants.
That is crazy growth.
That started I met the brothers in 2016.
Wow. Well, throughout your time at Dunkin' and the Home Group, you've gone from a few to that many locations, and you've gained a lot of recognition along the way. Why don't you share some of your insights into your journey of growing the franchise business within your world? And that is a lot.
Right. It is a lot. I really think what started to pave my way and to really put my foot down and get excited is I partnered with whom my business partners are fantastic, but they wanted to grow, right? They have the fire in them, and they wanted to grow Detroit, and they had the means to help grow. So it was like getting into Detroit market, getting more stores, building them, taking over more. Like they weren't shy to it, and I kind of liked the excitement. And what really started to take off is when Detroit started to turn around their numbers, more stores started to be built, that people were starting to be like, who's doing this? And, wait, what's going on? And, what is this group all about? And, who is running it? And I think that's partly where this kind of started. Started to get really excited about Own Group and our growth, and would start us, posting on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but LinkedIn really seems to be the platform for this. And then from there, I didn't even realize, but kind of started a little bit of a small following, and just really started to see that people would reach out and say, wow, we really love what you're doing, and would love to connect with you. And then sometimes when you're at the same type of function, whether it's a Dunkin' function, you would run into these people and you're like, oh my god, we follow you, and and just kind of went from there. And I think just started to build in the cities. You learn city officials, you just start working with a bunch of different people.
Well, that's really exciting. Yeah, and you expand your horizons and start
Yep.
working with other people in other industries that are also interested in growth. What are the signs that it's time to grow?
Well, for us in you mean like the brand in the
Yes.
Dunkin' sense of it, or even in Ohm Group in general, but with Dunkin' especially, I think to me it's just you have to grow a brand in a certain sense. Like if there's not a lot of your brand, it's hard because then people don't recognize it or they're not going to come as often. The more stores that you build, whether it's me or another franchise partner, just gives more people like, wow, Dunkin's really, coming to my neighborhood, this neighborhood. And then people that maybe only got it for work, and now there's one maybe in their neighborhood where they live, they now become, my afternoon or weekend drinker along with their kids, their family, and whatever. So we get that a lot where people would say, oh, I go to Dunkin', but it's only by my work, and I'm like, oh, well, where is that at? Stuff like that. You see the need that it's time to get in some of these cities and communities, and you got to listen to the community. A lot of people tell you like, hey, you should build one here. And, you have to do some research about it. You can't just like go everywhere, but it's definitely time to grow when, it could be something as simple as this store is so busy that we can't even, maybe the sales just, it would be good even if we had a store, 10 minutes down the street to maybe we see that there's a market there too, or really the guests will tell you, and if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Not always, but so far for me.
Right. Well,
I've taken some risks. I've gone into I wanted to do anything to get Dunkin' in everyone's hand in Detroit. We have some competitors out here. And I built in some places that, like Detroit Medical Center in downtown. It's in the center of 7 hospitals. I said, anyone that comes to this hospital that goes to this food court is going to see Dunkin'. And not everyone would do, little, we call them non-traditionals. We're in an airport, we're in a wholesale mortgage, our group. We're in a wholesale. I did a casino, I've done a hotel. And those kind of projects excite me too, but we're going to keep going with those non-traditionals. I got some stuff up my sleeve next couple of years.
well,
I just can't talk about it.
Well, that's exciting. So still growth on the horizon is what you're saying.
Oh yeah.
You're not
We're
done
paced
yet.
to do about 10 to 15 units a year with our brands.
Wow.
Right now.
That's
Yep,
amazing.
if not more.
Amazing
Yeah.
growth. And as you continue to grow, what are some of the key lessons that you've learned about maintaining quality and consistency?
I would be honest to say it's very hard to do. The consistency is just kind of really being aware, surrounding yourself with the good people, which is the big part of my whole success. But you just have to be aware. You do have to be on top of things, whether it is something digitally, where one of my partners is DTIQ, like just being on the ground and being like, hey, are they, is their speed the same as the other store? Is their complaints the same? Are they less? Are they more? I mean, you really have to visit a lot of stores, and I always will visit a store anytime I can just to make sure, and I don't really say much, just to make sure we are getting that consistent quality. But I will tell you, guests will tell you, it will always be your number one key, but your turnover will tell you, stuff like that will tell you, but it's not easy. And you got to stay at it. You got to talk about it. You got to communicate with people and throughout the whole entire organization. So everybody understands what the mission is and what's really important to all of us. Communication is huge in our group.
Well, as you continue to expand, what are some of the biggest challenges you're running into, or have you run into, and how have you tackled them?
I would say I'm trying to get ahead of things at the moment, but obviously there was a time where I didn't really know. I mean, from my background, I started with, one location and thought the first Dunkin' combo was a big operation. So to look at a higher scale is there was a time that I ran into a little bit of like a wall, so to speak, to go, wait, like how, I mean, I'm in 2 states, like how, we also in this Michigan, Detroit area, we have some outliers that are sometimes 2 hours away for me to touch. And you seem a little overwhelmed and you feel like it's too much, but I literally have felt that it's been, what was challenging for me was, and still is what I used to do with 10 units and give my big impact to them was harder on a bigger scale. And then it used to just be, again, I can't touch, 10 restaurants, and now I have 25. And then I started to look at the calendar and I would be like, even if I had 30 days in a week, I can't even hit a store a day. And it's just, it would, that was my struggle. I couldn't, once I got past that 25 units, it got a little bit easier a different way. And I know it sounds crazy, but I learned how to now touch on stores, maybe in an area, maybe not touch on every single store, but really had to learn to lean on your people to be letting you know some of these things, letting you in on things, staying in connection in a way so that people don't think that, the touch is still there, even though I can't get to a store every month. And nowadays it's hard to get to even one in every 3 months, so it's going to continue to be a problem. It's not easy to do, but we're trying our best. I'm trying my best. Yeah.
Yeah. Challenges come with scale, and you have to figure out how to navigate
Challenges,
the scale.
Like I said, the scale is just keeping everybody happy all the time. It's like keeping the same thing going and still give them that mom and pop feel, which we're very, family feel. And I know it's going to continue to be that way even when I hit 200 units. It's not going to be easier.
Wow.
So
big goals.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's exciting.
We just started.
Well, in the competitive,
I'm looking at a board that shows how many stores are being built. That's why.
Nice. See,
so it's constantly there.
Nice. So. Watching your future grow. In the competitive fast food industry, building influence and collaboration is crucial. Could you discuss your role in influencing not only your own Dunkin' stores, but also your interactions and partnerships with other operators within the fast food industry?
So I do like to network a lot. Networking always gets you to a lot of different places. And, we have to stay relevant with not only our competitors that are around us as neighbors, but, also in this food industry, because a lot of our employees that are in our QSR space are the same employees of maybe, your neighbors. So it's good to see like small things like, oh, what are you paying them? What is an employee benefit? What do they like? What do they dislike about working? And, I just think that's really relevant. But also when I network with other leaders that aren't just in the Dunkin' space, it's nice to see how is your infrastructure, or what struggles do you have, or if they're doing something that's even maybe a cool technology piece. It's kind of interesting to go, oh, well, that's very interesting to learn. And it just kind of keeps you relevant. And it's also good sources. But you never know when people apply. You're like, wait, I know someone at such and such, and let me give them a call.
Right.
You have to keep relevant. But no, definitely, I learn a lot from other people. I mean, like from my background, I don't have that corporate ladder or that type of education. And, I used to doubt myself, but now I don't anymore. But there used to be times where I would ask a lot of questions because I wanted to learn the industry and I wanted to learn, how this should look like as we grow too. So,
well, working with all the other partners and building other relationships, do you have any specific examples of how you leverage these relationships to drive innovation and operational improvements?
I mean, I would say like the partners that I work with, which is like DTIQ is one who introduced us together. Keeping like a relationship like them is important, or we have a lot of relationships with people that we have different services with, whether it's with employment, with our drive-through technology, whether it's like the eye in the sky with the surveillance. But it's good to all be on the same page with a lot of things. Like, like you don't want to have to call all the time and re-explain yourself about, hey, I need this now. We're building a location. I might need this service from you or that. And also, there's some of our vendors that we're all kind of growing at the same time. So it's like been really nice to see some of that growth. Like, just like, hey, remember when we used to do this, but now we have to get here. And I think I love the relationships, and I know I probably have so many more people to meet in my life, but definitely take things to another, like learning something, taking something that a vendor has taught us, a relationship, and taking it into your everyday is crucial.
What do you feel is your recipe to success to keeping your staff happy?
Listen, times have been hard. We've been through COVID, we've been through a pandemic, and then we went through what we call, we have different names for it, but like the staffing crisis, and all these things of after the pandemic. And it's being in this space where we're at in the QSR, what people want to call it fast food, whatever people want to say, is is a very hard sector, the hospitality in general, since COVID and the pandemic. And I will say, not to brag, but I didn't have a huge problem with some of my staff. I mean, obviously there's problems, but I never closed a single restaurant, even during the, COVID, the pandemic, when we were in shelter in place, we never closed a single restaurant once. Yeah, we had to reduce some hours and get a little creative, with availability. But I think what the number one thing is, I try to make people happy. We listen to people. It has to be a great place to work. You have to be relatable. You have to understand what people are going through. I think so far, and hopefully in my path, and even if I were to be even a bigger operator and a bigger, title, I don't think that really matters a whole lot with us, because a lot of people relate to me or my team because I'm no different than, I didn't start that long ago, and I literally was a barista cake decorator. So you just have to stay relatable. So, and you have to talk to a lot of people. You have to figure out like what makes people happy. And today, right now in March 2024, isn't always money. It isn't always what everyone thinks. People don't want a pizza party anymore. They used to be really exciting. Maybe 4 years ago, they were excited about pizza. Now they're like, pizza, that's what you want to give me? And, you just have to stay. I think you have to know your employees. I can't even tell you how many times, if I've seen other operators walk past people and don't even know who they are, it's not us. And I don't think that makes for, an environment. I try and be really, relatable. And if someone has a problem, whether it's something on a front line or it's a back office issue, I understand it. So let's talk about it. Let's walk through it. And, just my big thing that Ohm Group, and hopefully what I'm known about, is I grow people. And you can start off as a cake decorator and do what I do. And I think that's huge in our company. And we've grown a lot of people. So people have had those stories to say, yeah, I was with her, when I thought she was crazy taking over store, 11 or whatever. You have to grow your people and give them the sense to be happy. They have to be happy. They want to be able to grow. They want to feel that they're taken care of. And then it just kind of can resonate throughout all of the stores if all of your leaders feel the same way.
Mandy, did you think it was hard to replicate this with all your locations?
Yeah, it's very hard. It's still very hard. All what I've learned in my short 12 years is that everyone's me. So no, they're not going to think, act, and work like me. People used to say, and they might still say it, like, if only we could clone you. So you just have to do your best. Like, no, you can't clone me. And you know what? Maybe they don't have to be 100% like me. I'm not 100% perfect. So it's been really hard, but to find those other people that are my right, left hand, hands, which I really do have some very good director of operations that work for me that are literally my rocks. And you got to let them know that, hey, yeah, this is what I believe in. This is our core value. These are my, how I feel, how we, the I'm strict on certain things, but they have the same values, they have the same ethics, but both of them are a little different, and then I'm a little different, and it's in a good way, because something that I might lack, they might have, and something that I need from them that maybe I can't possess, they do. And it just works, because as long as they have that same value and they understand, then all of our locations can run that way, because they have the same value. And it's that's just how, the best way. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's not always going to be exactly 100%, but it works. It really works.
Well, in addition to that, what advice would you give restaurant leaders who are struggling now to maintain those higher levels of engagement with their teams?
This is actually one of the questions I get asked the most recently. I have I've opened up 2 stores in the last couple weeks, and we've had one of them had over 55 employees, and the other one had the normal amount for a Dunkin', like 25. And everyone keeps asking me, what can I do? How come this isn't like this? And I don't have the answer. I would say people that are struggling to maintain, they kind of have to go back to basics. I don't know. I don't think it's hard. I always say, you never get bored with the basics. Everyone always asks me the same thing over and over, but just go back to basics. And sometimes, you have to go back from square one and ask the people that are working for you and say, hey, let's just sit down. Let's figure this out. Why, figure out in the restaurant, how can I get this restaurant? And this is just what I do for a living. So how can I get this restaurant or this team or this, area, we're struggling, I can't keep engagement. How do I do this? And ask them, and it's doable, because, it just, you have to figure out, back to square one, back to basics, because you'll find your answers in there. A lot of people tend to get away from the basics, and that's when you see things just go a little AWOL. And, I walk into restaurants and think well, you can see there's a problem here. The employees don't look happy. The floors don't look clean. The bathroom's not stocked, and, you're missing things off your menu. What is going on here? You kind of have to just go back to square one.
Good advice.
With the basics. Yeah.
Well, before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I love what I do. I love our brands. I love who I work for, who I work with. And I think that I wouldn't have it any other way. I can't wait to see what the next, 5-10 years bring. And I'm hopefully this won't be the first time you've heard from me, Savannah. So hopefully I can make a name for myself too. But no, I if I could inspire, people to do the same thing, it's not just about doing this, but just there's a lot of people that I am starting to talk to as I'm getting more open and talk about my story. Is it's never too late to start something new. I was what people would say, quote unquote, later in life to start this career. Never think that you don't have a skill set just because you didn't go to school, or that you were a stay-at-home mom, or even like me, I owned a business, but I was basically the stay-at-home mom, and thought oh, I want to go out and do something. It doesn't mean. There are so many times in my life that in this career part that people have really questioned, why did you get this job, or why are you here, or why are you doing this? And it used to make me feel upset that I didn't have that skill, or maybe they were right. And the biggest thing was not to doubt yourself. If you have a passion and you're learning and you're excelling in your own, world, you can do anything. Don't ever let anyone stop you.
Well, thank you, Mandy. I'm
Thank you.
Really intrigued by your beginning and your growth and your middle, and it sounds like you have a very exciting future ahead of you.
I hope so.
Well, great. Good luck and so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Hope to see you soon.
And be watching for our next episode.